Welcome to the Our Vibes podcast. We are four Latinas just vibing.
Talking about the things that matter to us most, our experiences, our vibes.
I'm Caroline.
I'm Muffet.
I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Vanessa.
Today we have a very special guest, our first guest of the Our Vibes podcast. She's a Latina writer-director from Southeast Los Angeles. Her debut short film, The Letter, starred Xochitl Gomez and was licensed by HBO in 2020. In 2022, she was a Spotlight Dorado finalist, and her short film, Kid Ugly, was funded by McDonald's. Since then, she's been directing music videos and working on her debut film, introducing our good friend, the talented Jazmin Aguilar.
Welcome. Wow, I sound so official.
You are that girl. And I've been like wanting to share your story with the Our Vibes community for so long. We're so excited to have you. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for joining us.
Our official first guest.
Thank you. I'm honored. And what a guest.
How are you? What have you been
I'm
up
good.
to?
I'm great. I am busy writing, doing all that. Recently finished my feature in a good spot.
Oh, that's good.
Writing wise, it's not done yet, like in production yet. And did a short film, submitting it to stuff. It's a horror film, and branching into different genres, which is interesting, because we were talking about like Latina representation. We don't really see a lot of, at least, amplification of genre Latina directors.
Oh, for
They're
sure.
out there. There's just not an amplification of it. So,
yeah. If you could describe your new feature, or like your short or your feature, which one do you want to talk about first?
Yeah, I'll talk about the feature because that one's like the one that's more like rolling and stuff. But
What can we look forward to?
it's a coming of age movie. It's about when I was in high school. So my mom made me do first communion and confirmation when I was like 17.
Yeah.
So I'm like around 7-year-olds and stuff. So it was really lame. It was like, but the only reason she did it was because I didn't have a quince and she felt like, oh, you're super Americanized and all of that. But the thing is, like, my mom, like, she came to the country when she was like 2, so she's very Americanized. So it was like really a way for her to show like her, like my grandma and her side of the family that like, oh, we're both like Latino enough, right?
Yeah.
So it's a coming of age story from a child, like more typical teenage experience, but also as an adult. Because my mom also had me when she was like 17. So like the purpose of this was to like showcase a like younger mom and daughter dynamic, and also have it set in Southgate, which is where I'm from. So yeah, it's just like something I haven't seen before, and I just want to show it on screen. And it's really like cathartic getting to write it and break it down for people and pitch it to people, because it's like that happened to me, and I'm sure it happened to a lot of people too. So
Something that we believe a lot of specificity is universal.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really crazy experience having to break it down. It took a minute. When you're pulling from like your own experience, it's just like, what do we tell that's true? What's not true? Let's not try to like make it one-sided, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's what I'm working on now, and it's been getting some good eyes, and I feel proud of it. So I can't say what it's in like currently in the running for, but yeah.
That's exciting.
That's
We're proud of you.
awesome.
Thank you.
I remember as a 7-year-old seeing the old people. I was like, what are you doing here?
that was me. Like,
No, like that was me too, because I didn't do my first communion until it was very late. And they're like, oh, well, you have to do your first communion and the baptism for your confirmation. So I was 15 and getting baptized.
oh no, baptism. Did they hold you?
No, but there was not like long enough white dress for the baptism for someone my age. So we found like a strapless one, and the priest was not having it.
Oh my god.
They almost didn't let me go.
He liked it too much.
No, he was pissed.
Oh,
Because like, it was strapless, they're like, it's not modest enough. They almost didn't let me do it.
Oh wow. Well, I'm glad you got through it.
Did they use like some people say they use baby pools to like, oh really? Why can't they just put it on your head? Like,
No, they did. It was he was not happy about the dress.
oh, okay.
Did you always know you wanted to be a filmmaker? Like, were you in Pampers and were like,
I'm a filmmaker. With the camera.
It's funny, like I used to think no. I was more in like animation and drawing. Like that was my thing. I'm like drawing everywhere. That's my gift. Those like things that parents give that are like that like plastic thing with all the markers and pencils.
Oh, yeah.
I always got those for Christmas, and like I loved them because they're great. But I was like super set on animation, and I loved like manga and just watching different types of cartoons. But movies were always in there too, because they're similar. Same thing, cartoons. So it was always in my life, and my family loves movies. So I had a pretty strong knowledge of film already. So I knew like directors, I knew actors like pretty early on, but apparently, because I didn't go into film until I went into college. Otherwise, I wasn't really, in my opinion, like messing with cameras. But I don't know. My cousins were saying like, no, I remember when we were young, we had a little VHS camera, and you used to like tell us to act out things, and I'm like, I don't remember this like, at all. I would use this as a pitch to describe myself, like, oh, it's always been in me, but I don't remember this. But maybe that's because it was always there. I don't know. Like maybe it's just
Part of you.
Yeah, like I didn't even realize. But I got into film in college because I was trying to go to Cal Arts for animation, and at the time I went to SMC because they had like at the time, some schools had transfer credits to certain universities. So I was like, okay, let me go to SMC, get the transfer credits to Cal Arts. And then when I was there, I was like, damn, this is not fun. Like, you know?
It's a lot of technical stuff.
Yeah, because like you have to do so many prerequisites, and you're just like, I just want to draw. And they're like, well, now you have to do it digitally and this. And I'm like, this is frustrating. I don't want to do this. I want to also get up and about because I need to get stuff done. I just need to see results fast. So movies weren't too crazy of a shift because once I decided I'm not going to go to Cal Arts, I'm going to do something now, because I felt like I was running out of time, right? Like obviously I wasn't. I was out of high school.
Yeah, Hamilton.
Yeah. But my cousin was going to like a one of those for-profit art schools, and I was like, I want to do that too. So I ended up enrolling in film there because I already liked film. And I forgot to mention, I wasn't acting a little bit when I was in high school. Like I took acting classes.
What?
Yeah, you see, I forget. Like I'm just like, oh yeah, I did that. I don't remember. I went to the Young Actors Studio when I was in high school. So I had experience with being on stage, understanding scripts, breaking down stories, and, you know, even drawing or liking comics, like understanding visually how to tell a story and write it. So that's why film didn't feel too crazy. But that was like my next step. But yeah, I guess the inklings were always there. Like all those little things, you know?
Yeah, storytellers are storytellers.
Yeah.
There's just so many forms we can go into.
Yeah, and I think that the more versed you are in, like, you know, different parts of it, the better, you know, filmmaker, easier time you're going to have, you know?
That's what I was going to add. I feel like you got to dabble a little bit in each, like, component of it, that it helps you kind of even be a leader within the space because you know how to help each person. Because you understand their situation.
It's a lot easier to communicate with a team because, like, the only thing I hadn't experienced before film was working in teamwork settings, which I learned in school. But otherwise, it's just like I'm alone, you know, having to draw, having to act. It'd be like scene partners in school. But like, it was pretty much a pretty lonely creative process until going to college, and the collaborativeness. That's what I learned about film for sure. And which was, you know, it's all about finding your people. Cause like, you know, when you're in school, you're just kind of paired with certain people and you're like, damn, they suck, or they're just gonna leave. Yeah, or they're just gonna leave. They're not taking the project seriously. But then after time, you find your people, and you're just like, okay, like, this is doable. I can do this. And taking that initiative yourself, too.
That. Did you have any, like, inspirations growing up where you like, when I saw The Godfather, I knew, like, La La Land?
Why is The Godfather everyone?
You know what? I was like at the Academy Museum yesterday, and I was like, there's all this like Godfather stuff, and I was like, man, this looks so cool. I wish I liked this movie. It's not like,
Also, you've seen it.
I think I have. It's not that I don't like it.
You haven't seen The Godfather?
I just don't remember it. Like, okay, I haven't seen it. Like,
not every.
But the thing is, I was just like, man, like the way people have such a strong reaction. I'm like, I want that. Like, seeing all the stuff they had at the museum, the props, really cool posters. I'm like, that would make a good tattoo. If only I liked The Godfather, I would get it. It's like a baby cherub with 2 guns, and I was like, that's so cool. And I was like, I'm gonna watch The Godfather and try to get into it to justify it.
What films do you feel that way about?
that I'm gonna get a tattoo of. Man, I love a lot of movies. I always think of my like top movies. The biggest one that I've right now, because it always changes your tops, but going back to like what you're saying, like, oh, my first movie, you know, I don't know, because I watched a lot of movies, but I did really love just in general like Tim Burton growing up. I was like, oh, he's my like, if you know, edgy kid growing up, like who's the one that you're gonna go to? Tim Burton. So I was like super into, you know, his aesthetic, the way he told stories, how it's still family friendly in a way, campy, and, you know, has a dark aesthetic, right? So it fills all these voids, and I think that just was something that helped me like, okay, I can do something like this, you know? It like coincided with my aesthetic at the time, which was like edgy kid, you know? So it was just like something that helped me kind of get into it, watching like Beetlejuice and movies like that. I don't know what one movie it is, but I know that director is the one that made me realize like, oh, I can do world building and do more with a movie, you know, visually in different ways and storytelling. So yeah, he's the one. It sounds a little basic now, but like, yeah.
No, you're so right. World building is so cool.
Yeah.
It is fun. Yeah, it's hard.
I hear you have some kind of hesitation. You're like, it's Tim Burton. Like, as a film student, I was a film student in college too, and I was around people who were like, The Godfather, like,
oh, really?
blah, blah, blah. So, it like, did you ever feel like an outsider, and like, how did you combat that?
Yeah, I like Tim Burton. I think now I just think of like, you know, what people usually say of him and the current movies. I think maybe he might seem like an obvious choice for a lot of people. I don't know. I have always been pretty well versed in film, but I don't like how some people, like in film school, would treat people like they're dumb if they don't know something. That's so stupid. Like, you just show it to them, or, you know, get to share that experience with them, you know? Also, if they don't like something from a certain time period, that's okay. Like, you know, I know it's not a big deal. It's just movies. It's something I take really personally. I love movies. It's my life, but also like such a privilege. Come on, like we're playing pretend. Like we can't like take it that seriously, guys. I don't know. It's like bringing them back to like a grounded level. But yeah, I remember in school we have in film school some heated arguments over movies that were stupid. Like
I kind of like that topic of discussion because sometimes I watch things or I come across things that is specifically with like film students or within the film community that are within the Hispanic community. And I know that it varies, that we're not a monolith and everyone has had different experiences, but I was like, how does everyone as a consensus like The Godfather? Like, I've never seen that, so I kind of question it a little bit. I'm like, is it like, didn't we all also like other people grew up watching? I guess I haven't felt represented in the people that have said like, I grew up watching novelas, or I grew up watching the same kind of movies like Mean Girls and all that stuff.
Or sci-fi, Star Wars.
Yeah. And not specifically that. I was like, I don't remember thinking I was like 12 or 13 and being, I'm gonna watch The Godfather today. Or like everyone likes Tarantino too. It's like he's a god, and I'm like, oh my god, like I never even like. How did you guys figure this out at such a young age? You know,
it feels like it's kind of a dark like motive of a movie to be watching at such a young age too.
I was watching Nacho Libre.
My family loves that movie.
Yeah,
like,
the wacky,
I love it too.
The wacky. I was talking to a film friend yesterday, and I like personally like I'm a huge fan of like films that are able to create like really unique worlds.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, like so you like sci-fi fantasy, and I'm like, no, actually, I liked Poor Things. I love that world.
Yeah.
And then I brought up The Wacky Adventures of Ronald McDonald.
Like the cartoon ones or the.
But like they started off live action.
Oh yeah.
And like that world, it's just like so cool that someone came up with that. Like
You're saying that now, and I remember I was so into Cars. I love that world of Cars. It's like, yeah, that's me.
We're like, life is a highway.
That is art.
It's art.
Love that. Could you tell us a little bit about your first project?
Oh,
The
yeah.
Letter?
I was at film school. Not a great one, but it was a film school. But we had like a thesis film. But prior to doing it, I was just doing producing, editing. So I was doing other stuff prior to directing. And that was my final project because they were like, you can, produce 2 projects, write 2 projects, or direct one. And I was like, well, if I'm gonna like show my time being here, I feel like I should direct. Like, why am I gonna produce two people's projects? I want to do my own. So I wrote the letter, which was about two kids who are trying to find out. Their father went to the States and then left the family in Mexico, and they're trying to find out, you know, whether he's coming back home or not. And he's sending airmail letters in a form of communication, you know. And it's based on my family because that's what happened to my mom, my grandmother, and my grandfather, because they my grandpa went to the States to find, you know, a job and worked there and sent money back. And then at a certain point, the goal is to bring everyone back, right? Which apparently is very common. I hear it all the time when people watch the movie. They're just like, oh, yeah, my family did that too. But I just try to change it up a little bit. And I was like, okay, this is, you know, it's not fact. Like my grandpa he took the family back, you know, like I'm here, you know? But I changed it and made it a little more personal to fit with my own experience, because I was raised with a single mom, and I was like, oh, like, you know, I feel like because, you know, I never really had a relationship with my father. I never met him. So, and I'm fine. I'm okay. I was able to be supported by the people around me and continue on. So the messaging when I made the letter was like, okay, like, he's not here, but okay, like, you are still fine and you're going to be okay with the people that are here with you now. Doesn't matter that your expectations or whatever were changed. So that was my way of doing something that was like, you know, it felt a little vulnerable to do at the time because, one, I never wrote anything. But it's also like I wasn't ever like a big deal to me, the subject matter, at least my personal side of it. But writing it made me just, I guess, force myself to think about it more. And I was like, okay. And then also getting to have another thing where I was able to bond with my side of my family because I was asking them about the experience of like, hey, when grandpa went to the States, how was it here? My aunts and uncles being like, yeah, people used to make fun of us and be like, your dad's not coming back or this. So, and talking to my grandpa and being like, hey, it's kind of based on you, but it's not. So he's not gonna come back? Is that? I'm just letting you know, like, it has nothing
like, I don't mean to
Don't get offended.
Like, please don't take it personally. It's not attacking you. It's just
Before
it's
play about us.
I know, that's what I'm worried about sometimes. But my grandpa was like, no, that whatever makes a good story, you know, do that. And I was like, okay. But my uncle, he was like, your grandpa didn't do that. Your grandpa was like looking for jobs every day in the rain. And I was like, I know, this is fake though. Like this is still like a fictional thing. It's not real-ish. Like, I'm just trying to detach it here. But that was an interesting experience, just like getting to do that and write that. And I produced it as well. I cut the film as well. So it was a very intimate project with that. And it was my first time directing. So I was, you know, new. But I also learned through my schooling process of like how to produce, watching movies, sets, being intern on features, being like, okay, I know how to tackle this. And yeah, things go wrong sometimes, but you have to like find a way. And I was shocked that we ended up on HBO. Yeah.
That's awesome.
For a student film, I was like,
congratulations.
Okay. Yeah, it was wild. I can't believe it.
What was it like deciding to direct your own project where you're like, I'm going to do it, like I can do it? Or was it something you had to grow confidence into of like directing your own work? For the first time.
I think it's just the pressure because I was like, oh, like I mentioned, like I was like, oh, I don't want to have to direct or produce two other people's projects. I'm going to have to do my own. And if this is a representation of me at school, then it should be really good, right? Or it should be good enough that when I show it at a showcase, it's not embarrassing. Like that's like my main thing. Like I've always had pretty personal standards for myself. I don't really care too much what other people think. So it's like I just want to make sure that, I guess I do care if I don't want it to be embarrassed, you know? But it's like, but still, like I just want, when my family has to watch my 4 years in college and see something, it's like it has to be decent or show some sort of craft and creativity and talent to justify that. So for me, it was just like, it's game time, it's ride or die, and I just couldn't think of it in any other way, honestly, which still do, yeah.
Something that I did want to like pick your brain about, because I know that some dynamics with being Latino, a lot of people are like, well, you know, why are you pursuing art? Because it's not seen seriously. Did you feel at any point that, like, with the movie that you were putting out, so your family's like, so they can see that I'm actually doing something serious, or were they always supportive?
Yeah, that too. I think that my family's been always pretty supportive of me, but it is that thing of like, well, you know, I'm first generation to go to college, so it's like, I don't want to like you to think I'm just playing around with a camera and saying that I am doing something, you know? So I think personally, I thankfully have a very creative family. They don't do it in the field, but they have that talent. So that makes me happy because like they understand, which I've been very grateful for. But I think my own end of it, it's me who's like, I don't want to make them feel like, oh, like, is Jazmin okay? You know, like, I remember my grandma used, you know, how grandparents would like hide money in a handshake and stuff and be like, are you okay? And it's like, I am okay,
Here's
Grandma.
a 20.
Yeah.
I keep wondering if they were smugglers in their past life, but they would.
Yeah, I know.
They were slick with that.
I know. It's like, look, I'm okay. Like, don't give me money. So I just want to make sure that they think I'm fine because I don't want them to worry, you know? That's the biggest thing. Yeah.
I know you were telling us about how your life journey and your experiences have been shaping the way you write, the stories you want to tell. How does your identity play a role in your work? Like, what made you think, okay, this is what I want to write about. I want to do my own representation.
Yeah, when I kind of just write on a whim. I feel like I just write what comes to me, but I have noticed a theme. I'm like, oh, they're always women. They're always Latinas. That has been the reoccurring theme. And for me, because I have so many interests, it's like I did Kid Ugly, which is like a Western mix with some like animes I like getting to show women in these roles and Latinas, which also are like historically accurate, it's just like a privilege to me and like to do it my own way, you know? I'm not really trying to teach anyone something. I just want to show like these people in these different positions and genres and be like, look, they're here too. It makes sense. It works just as well. And it honestly works better sometimes because of, you know, the complexity and the stories that haven't been told yet, that the fact that they're a woman, the fact they're women of color, you know? It's not something sometimes I remember to pitch people because I'm just like, well, yeah, they're going to be Latina. Like, I don't even think about it sometimes because that's just a given, you know? That's what I am. But I know a lot of people who get a little caught up and they feel like they have to represent, you know, their family, their ethnicity accurately, and they feel like if they don't, they feel like, you know, they're doing a disservice, you know? I've never really felt that because I feel like I'm just telling my perspective. I don't need to, you know, go in too deep and like add other stuff. Like I had a friend who said, like, you know, I don't want to add like, you know, this thing with like a elotero and this, and she just felt like it was being really cliche and like, and I'm like, well then don't. Like, why do you feel like you need to add all this stuff if she's trying to give examples of growing up, I don't remember things like this or this and this, and I'm like, then don't do it. So for me, like, you know, even going back to like my feature one, I'm having to recount things from my, you know, childhood. And I think about growing up in Southgate, and I'm like, yeah, I'll bring up little things here and there of like, you know, that may seem to be cliche, but I also have vivid memories of other things that are just very specific to the area. And I think that's what makes you stand out when you tell it, you know? Because I think also a lot of white people kind of go off, you know, or people who are not white, people who write for us, go off a lot of stereotypes, you know, and I understand why people in our own, you know, community may stick to them as well because, you know, they do well, you know, and they might be like, well, when we do the other stuff that's more nuanced, it doesn't, so let's do the other stuff. But I think to keep my own peace of mind, I'm just going to keep doing what I want to do and try to make it broad. So it's like everyone will like it, you know, and I don't have to feel that pressure from one community, you know, because I'm always going to be part of it. So
the fact that you wrote it makes it Latina.
Yeah, and I've never been too personal about it, honestly. I'm just like, I don't need to prove anything.
Period.
You know?
As long as you're staying true to yourself, that's what matters.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you feel about like writers that like consciously make it, no matter like what their background is, that consciously make an effort to write about what they don't know?
I don't mind it. I think you just have to like actively enjoy it and like want to learn, you know? Because I understand, like, I remember even like with one of my scripts, it's about like embalming and like, you know, funeral home services and this, and I'm just like, I haven't even lost anyone in my life. I don't understand the gravity of like dealing with this kind of thing in a different angles, you know, and having to deal with grieving families. And then it's a dark comedy, so having to find humor and balance of something. So it's like, I think as long as you treat it with care too and like go deep into it, you know, I know, like, Nacho Libre, right? Like, that's written by a white guy. You know? What? And it's direct, like, that's by a white...
Caroline was putting
and I think it's Jared Hess. Yeah, he wrote and directed it. But honestly, I feel like the world building in it all feels pretty fucking good, right? Like, I remember when I was watching it, I think a few years ago, like, rewatching, I was like, this feels more Latino than like stuff I see like that are meant for Latinos on Netflix or some shit, and I'm like, why?
I feel like sometimes with those kind of projects, it's like they're focusing so much on trying to check every box than they're the development of the story.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I think Nacho works so well. Like, we understand his plight, you know, and like the world he lives in, it feels so genuine that they're able to add that humor to it, and you're just like, why not, you know?
And it's not a story about being Mexican. It's just a story that happens to happen to a Mexican.
Yeah,
well,
I know.
A white guy playing Mexican.
I know. They try to skirt it in the narrative. They're like, oh, what did he say? My mom was like a...
half Hungarian or something?
Yeah. They try to like find something in. I was like, all right. You got us there. But no, I thought that was done with care, honestly. You know, I don't have a problem with it, but... You know, could it be done today? Would I have a problem today? Probably. I don't know. I was a kid.
You have quite the eye for talent. Like, you got Xochitl Gomez, is now like America Chavez, winner of Dancing with the Stars.
I know, yeah. Which is really impressive.
Elijah, who was... Aiden Elijah, who was in Kid Ugly and then went on to be in a Disney movie.
I know.
What's your secret? What do you look like? How do you know someone's gonna be a star?
I don't know. I mean, Xochitl's was so funny because when I was casting, I was putting out a casting call like through the typical sites, you know. But I had a friend who was casting for kids and had like a bunch of headshots and was like, you know, I was like, yeah, let me see your kids. Let me look at them.
In a non-creepy way.
I know. So I remember looking at all his headshots and like asking questions. I'm like, hey, what about this girl? What about this girl? And I remember asking, because she just so happened to audition for his, I was like, what about her? And he was like, oh, well, she's good, but I don't really feel it with it. And I was like, I'm going to see her anyway. And she also happened to submit to my casting call. So when I sent in for a tape audition, I sent her the sides. She was great. I was like, there's no question. And then I had her come in for an in-person audition, just as amazing. And I had another friend with me, and she was like, dude, she's like fantastic. And I'm like, yeah, I literally set aside more time in the project to find a kid actor because I knew it would be hard. And then I found her like that. I was like, oh shit. And then Justin, who plays her brother in The Letter, that took longer. I was like trying to find someone who balanced her, kind of looked similar, you know? It was like a whole thing. But yeah, Xochitl honestly was great. Her mom is amazing. I feel like they were very sweet to me as well. Like, you know, her mom helped me, you know, with submissions to festivals, telling me this is good here, 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 here. So it was really having that guidance and getting to also audition, rehearse with Xochitl a lot, because my first time really directing actors, and I had experience as an actor, so I know how to speak the same language. But I was like, okay, Xochitl, like really breaking it down with her, doing blocking rehearsals with the actor, doing some with just her. And even going to some of her acting school and watching how her teacher teaches her and just sitting there. I remember her teacher had the script and was reading everything together. And it was just nice to see like your words also through another teacher, like kind of like trying to guide it. 'Cause it's all there. It's in the writing, like the beats and stuff, but just it was really just a more intimate project to practice and get to direct that way. And she's just so good that, you know,
Yeah,
she's just
easy.
good. You know what I mean? Like, she's
hustles.
fucking great. No, yeah, she was amazing. And at the time, she didn't have like a leading role. So this was like her first leading role. All she had been in were like side characters. I remember I saw a play right after that they invited me to. Even that wasn't a leading role. It was like a side character. And I'm just like, yeah, like, they were just hustling. And she was just so good off the bat. I was like, no, she's great. Like, she's amazing. I feel like she did more of the work for me.
Yeah, I remember watching it the other day for the first time, and I'm like, she ate that. Like, she didn't leave a single crumb.
And she's so young.
Yeah, she was a baby.
I saw her in the Babysitters Club too.
Oh yeah, that was so sweet.
I love that show.
Oh my god, I remember when she got that role. Do I still have I have the voicemail. So she was like, "Hey Jazmin, can you call me whenever you get the chance?" And I was like, what's happening? And then I was like, hey, what's up? She's like, I just want you to know that I got the role for Babysitters Club. And I was like, ah. And she was like, yeah, I just want to let you know because I feel like, you know, you really helped me like on the rise and we kind of grew together. And I'm just like, oh.
I love that. I was so bummed when she wasn't in the next season. I'm like, why? And I went to go research. I'm like, oh, you got a Marvel role?
Yeah.
Get
Like,
your coins.
No,
I know.
but I was like, nice.
I was like so upset, but then I saw that it was a Marvel project, and I'm like, no, get your coins, girl.
No, honestly, and I was like, okay, like, you know, when Marvel happened, I was like, hey, I heard these rumors about Marvel. What's up with that? And then like radio silence. And then when it was like
NDAs.
confirmed, yeah, they were like crazy, like. So then when it came out, she was like, yeah, I couldn't let anyone know. And so I was like, okay, like, I understand. It's Marvel.
Yeah, they're very strict.
Yeah.
I had seen other actors. Yeah.
They already have Tom Holland.
Yes,
oh
Tom Holland.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not my fucking ass gonna ruin it for all of them.
Yeah.
I still think that was PR.
No, like,
fun.
they already know, like, there's interviews.
Yeah,
where,
they do.
Yeah, he got
Yeah.
trouble.
Like, shut
Yeah.
Oh.
Some people print scripts in red and black ink because they can't be photocopied and like other stuff like that. Like there's
Good to
so
know.
much shit.
Fun fact, everyone. Y'all heard that?
It's so crazy. But yeah, Marvel takes it very seriously. Yeah.
That's so cool that you guys are still growing together.
I know, yeah. We'll see how things go. And you know, with my feature, I want to bring her on and we'll see with her schedule and all of that. But otherwise, I'm so happy and, you know, her career has been flourishing and I'm so glad that, like, you know, everyone loves her because she's like, you know, how can you hate her? You know, like, I don't know.
I saw one cumbia TikTok and I was like, I'm a fan.
Yeah, I saw her TikTok too and I'm like, I love her.
Yeah, she's such a sweetheart.
But my introduction to you was a Spotlight Dorado.
Oh,
Kid
yeah,
Ugly.
yeah.
And Elijah, like, when I saw him on the red carpet, I'm like, he knows how to work it.
Oh, God, yeah.
Aiden.
Oh, yeah.
Aiden.
Aiden Elijah. Yeah. Aiden's amazing, and I had way less time to make that movie than I did The Letter. I had only a week and a half to...
Oh my God.
That's stupid.
I can't even come up with a caption for like a social post.
Yeah, so we had a week and a half of pre-production, and I guess in total it's 2 weeks, including pre-production, production. But imagine, I find out August 10th, you won, your money's coming. Oh my God. And they're like, you have to film it by the 28th. And I'm like, I have a fucking Western, bro. Like, I have like horses, I have kids, we have permits we need. And that, you know, it was hard to adjust the script, get locations, but also cast because I had to get a kid. And I was like, oh, fuck, man. Okay, let's go. I had a casting call out. I had a bunch of kids come in, you know, and I was seeing a bunch of people. And my whole thing with Aiden's character, he was either going to be Native American or African American, because Scarlett, who was the other lead, is Latina. So I wanted to show two types of cowboys and have them as leads, you know, and like the real cowboys. Mm-hmm. So that's why I had very specific things on my casting call. And of course, when you do casting calls, people who do not fit the bill start applying, you know, like white kids and stuff. But it was really just like sorting through and sifting through things. And in one of my posts, because I use like a bunch of websites, I saw Aiden's submission and I reached out, I'm like, hey, can you do like send in a video audition? And then like it was radio silence and I was like, no, I have a feeling this kid's the one. And I went on his like TikTok and I found his videos. I'm like, I really feel like he's the one. And I was like, oh shit. And I was like,
stole the show.
Yeah, he was so good. And I was like, oh fuck, okay. Like, let me just keep reaching out. And then also I saw the email on the headshot and the resume on the back. And I'm like, hey, just reaching out, you know, we're gonna do this thing. Like, I don't know if you saw my message. And they had missed it. So then they were like, oh, of course, I'll send in the, you know, the tape read. And he fucking killed it. And then we did a video audition / chemistry read with Scarlett and Aiden. And he was great. Like, immediately we can tell. Because, like, you know, even adult actors, some people, when they're reading with you, they're just thinking of their next line. They're kind of into space. With him, he was, like, literally listening to her when she did an action, even through Zoom. Like, he reached out too. So it was like, okay, he's an actor. Like, he knows how to do it. And the thing I really liked about Aiden, because it's tough when you work with kids if they're not, especially as young as he was, because I think he was 8 when he was in my movie.
Wow.
Super baby. Like, so I don't expect a lot of kids, you know, to be, like, even so she was a bit older, so she can understand, like, notes, you know? It's like, okay, like, hey, can you change it up here or this, or here's some motivation. With when I have done kids in the past with the letter, and even with Kid Ugly having to be with kids and read, it's hard because a lot of kids, you know, they'll be like, they'll beat themselves up. They'll be like, oh, I messed up, or this, and they'll be sad. Or the parents are in the back being like, no, do it again, or you messed up, and it's like, oh my god, like,
he's
relax.
ace.
Or the parents are trying to direct them, like, man,
they do. Dude, there's like no shame in it. Like, you'll be in the middle of a video audition and they'll come in and be like, no, they said to move it this way. You didn't do it that way, or this. And I'm like, this is awkward. But Aiden's parents weren't even like, I didn't even see them until we told them that he got it. But when I would be like, hey, can you read it this way this time, Aiden, or try this? He's like, okay. Did it. Amazing. And I remember we ended our Zoom call and me and Scarlett were like, he's the one, right? And they're like, yeah. So we just called him back. We're like, we actually have something we need to tell you. And we're like, you got it. So we wanted to tell him on camera, and like his family was there. It was really cute. But no, it was amazing. Aiden, his family, they're so sweet. He has also great vocal inflection, which is crazy for a kid. Like, a lot of kids mumble.
Yeah, I was like, get this kid on Paw Patrol. He has a voice.
Well, he actually is. He's now on a Disney Junior show. He's like one of the leads that just dropped. And I was like, this makes total sense.
He 100% has the voice actor voice.
Yeah, it's great. Like, honestly, he's doing like 2 different Disney Junior shows right now.
Hustling.
Yeah. And then he was in the Naughty 9 recently, which was actually filmed right before he did Kid Ugly. Oh, wow. And they were supposed to drop it that winter, but you know, things, they get really pushed and shit. So then it was the last December in 2023 instead. So it was a little bit of a delay, but it was like, damn, Aiden, like, you're so good. Like, you know, yeah.
Well, do you feel like you see a spark when you find good talent, or what advice would you give to actors as a director of like how to get noticed?
It's hard. I know it's difficult for kids because, you know, there's so many factors, but I think it's just that relaxation of like, look, we're here for you. Like, if you mess up or something, that's totally fine, you know. I'm sure the parents put some, or like, there's just pressure in general when you're having to read, you know. But yeah, it's like, just let's play pretend, you know, like, it's not real, it's fine, it's not a big deal, like, let's just read, you know, and just treat it as such, like, have fun, you know, which we tried to have, like, with Aiden, like, we still have studio teachers on set. We make sure that he's safe on, like, the horse, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So, and then he even got on the horse, like, we're letting people.
Were the horses divas?
They were good. Well, no, they were divas, yeah. There was, like, one shot I was just like, oh, this fucking horse. Just, like,
Let's get it together.
Yeah, it was just, oh my god. We were, like, ahead of schedule one day, and then we had a one wide of the horse, and I was like, bro, just stop. Why are you, like...
Stop horsing around.
Yeah, why are you moving your head so much? I was like...
Get your acting together.
No.
Listen.
Yeah, you know, and you don't want to get them mad, like, you know, like, charge towards the camera. Like, you're just like... No, yeah, it's been great. I mean, I'm honestly so blessed, especially in that time period, to have such great talent like them, and... both of their rises have not shocked me at all, you know? It's like, that's just due. Like, they deserve it for sure.
So with the success of Kid Ugly, I know you got to go to like Comic-Con and a bunch of festivals. What is it like seeing like other people view your work in other parts of the country? Has it been received differently with different communities?
Yeah, it's always scary, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, I've always been nervous because like whenever you're in a block, we're paired with so many different movies, so you don't know what you're like. What am I coming after? Is it gonna be really, really good? You know, is I gonna look like shit? And you just wonder how the audience is gonna perceive it. But we played at Comic-Con. It was really great. We ended up winning Best Action Adventure there, which was really cool. But we also played in parts of the country I haven't even been to, like fucking Indiana, like Ohio, you know what I mean? Like we were in Pittsburgh, and that was really nice. We got to play twice there at like a big festival they have, not like just a film festival, but a city festival. Nice. Where the city ended up paying for our travel, and like it was really cool because that means we were also free, so that means all these families could come twice to watch the movie, and it was honestly such a beautiful experience. And it's been nice to see these places because, like, you know, they're usually like more white, like they don't usually see this kind of stuff. We even played in like Philadelphia, all these other places like in the East Coast, and it's just cool because like I think especially Kid Ugly has been like more of a West Coast thing in general. It's also the West, so it's just nice to get some sort of reaction and also meet new filmmakers who are just like, oh, that's so cool. Also, like, you know, knowing the story behind it of like, I can't believe you only made this in this amount of time, or like, you know, just praising even the creativity of it, you know, has been really nice. I really have enjoyed it, and with the letter too, we had a smaller rollout of a festival, but it was just impactful, you know, small and impactful. This one was bigger, and it was nice to do that and get that experience. So it's been really a blessing. It's scary. I'm getting used to it, you know, like getting to see people watch your work, look for reactions in the crowd, and, you know, piece of you is always like, how can I do better next time, you know? But it's honestly something I've slowly been coming to just accept and just be like, this is what I made then. And that's just it was already a big deal at the time, and I have my successes there. Don't think of negatives. But yeah, it's been beautiful, honestly.
Yeah, that's so special that your work, something you created, can resonate with so many different kinds of people.
Yeah, it's really cool. It feels I'm very grateful. It's not something, you know, a lot of people can do, and it's kind of scary, and they're not really, you're like, no one's really getting anything out of it, I guess. Like, no one paid me to be like, hey, Jazmin, tell me this, and like, it's like, I'm just giving this to you. You know, do you like it? Oh, great. Like,
in showcasing your work to different audiences, have you like learned about different elements that you need to incorporate into your movies to make it more generic, or I guess whenever you create a film, are you trying to target a specific group of people, or what's your process at?
Yeah, I think now when I write, I'm like thinking like from an audience perspective now. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I'll be just thinking on a whim. I'm like, like that will be interesting or funny. But then I'm like, wait, let me think of like how this will play in an audience. You know, like how long will this laugh go? Will this go overlooked by this other joke? Will it be too fast? Because what I've learned, especially when I was doing McDonald's, I didn't have a lot of mentorship in it because it was really a packed program. We didn't get to meet them as much, but I did have one meeting with Carlos Lopez Estrada, and he was like, I think you need to do a flashback in this one part. And I was like, really? But why? And he was like, because the audience are going to watch it one time. Like, you need to be as clear as possible or repeat something because they're just going to miss it. It's not television. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense to me. So it gave me a different perspective of like clarity, like don't make them feel dumb, but just clarity of things, and from an audience perspective who are just watching it probably one time. So that's kind of how I look at it now too, when I structure and write any new stuff I have. So that's how I learned it, through watching people. And honestly, some audiences are different. Some people like pick up on things and they're just like having a good time. Yeah. Some are just quiet, but they'll clap for you at the end, so I guess they liked it. You know? Like, yeah, it's interesting.
As someone a few years into the Latino Hollywood space, what advice do you have to up-and-coming talent?
I think that if you're like a Latino in the industry, different parts of the town, different parts of like the country, because I'm from LA, I'm very fortunate, but I still didn't really have any ties to the industry, you know? I would say just do what comes to you and do it as genuinely as you can. and just go for it. Like, don't think of what if or it sucks. Just write it down. It's like, who cares? Because you're gonna do the next version. It's gonna be better, and it's just a work at progress thing. You have to fail fast, like do it quick, and then get back on your feet. Like, and don't even look at it as a failure if you feel like that's too much. But I think just creating anything is good for our demographic, because a lot of people, when you get in the industry deeper, they say, oh, that doesn't exist. We don't know Latinos that do this. We don't know. And it's like, how can you say that when I know a ton of people who do that?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Make it so they can't make that excuse to be like, we don't know anyone doing that. Like, if you go for it, even if you don't think it looks amazing, great, fuck it, do it and put it out there. Like, if you put it on YouTube or at least post about it, do something to just have that timestamp on the world. Because, like, I know people think, what will they think of me? Or maybe it's not good enough. But it's like, guys, you gotta start somewhere. And it's, you also, like, I like, honestly, people have short-term memory. Also, people, like, if you paint something bad, some people say you're not as good as your last project. I don't think that's true. I think that people have selective memory, because if you make a hit in the next one, they're just going to say it's a hit. That they don't care about whatever came before, you know? And if anything, they're going to use your other examples of how you grew. So it doesn't matter, you know? But that's my biggest thing, is like finally creating, getting it done and getting it out there and working on the next one. But also something you're interested in, because, like, yeah, I've seen people trying to check off boxes who are like, but it doesn't tell this, or we didn't get to, you know, do things that are popular within the media that seem to have money attached to it, right? Then don't fucking do it, you know? Just do whatever you want. And it's honestly gonna stand out. It really is, especially if you talk about it with such passion and just keep going. But yeah, like, I did a Sella, I'm from Southeast LA, and they had like a youth film festival, and the coordinator of it was telling me a lot of kids were just too nervous and shy. They made their projects for this festival, but they didn't want it to screen. And I'm like, that sucks, because like that's why we're here. We're here to like view it, you know, encourage it, but it's just that scaredness of getting it out there, you know. It's like, it just go for it, you know. The winner ended up getting like a laptop, you know, like that's really cool. I mean, even if you don't win, it's like, hey, like you showed initiative. And honestly, I think it's just with anything in life, once you start really going for what you want, that's just such a good recipe for the rest of your life. So yeah, I just hope that more people can just be a little more fearless in that sense, and it's okay to fail.
Yeah, it's really sad how fear is prohibiting a lot of really great stories from being told.
It is, and it sucks because, like I said, people act like they don't exist. They'll say like, oh, we haven't found that good story yet, or we're looking for something super specific, like, oh, I need like a sci-fi this movie by a Latino, but I can't find it. It's like, okay, well, I know a bunch of people like that. How come you can't just go there?
Yeah.
You know, or whatever, all that kind of stuff. So it's like getting your name out there, your voice out there, even being present on social media, like, you know, all that kind of stuff. It really does matter, because even if you don't like it, you can just have a page up and you just post it up. It doesn't matter. Like, there's just proof that we're out there.
And you would think that it's like, if you don't see it out there, why not start it, or why not do it yourself instead of waiting for someone else to do it for you?
Yeah, and I think that's a big problem too, because I think with anything in the industry, people think someone's gonna find me and like they're gonna see my talent and then bring me up, right? Which is such a
pretentious.
It's like it's just such a starry-eyed, and like it sounds. It's very wishful thinking, and like I understand why, because like you see movies, it is like a fairy tale, like, you know, like we tell these stories, we're like, oh, they were so good that one person saw them, like in La La Land, where like that show, and then it's like, I saw you at the show and you're gonna be at this audition. It's like, yeah, maybe there's like a 1% instance of this, but otherwise, like, no, you need to go out there and do it, because yeah, I've met people who have been great mentors who have seen my stuff and like it, and like they'll like maybe amplify me a little, but like they're not gonna get me to the top, you know, and that's fine, because it's just like, that's great. I want to appreciate this relationship we have and be like, okay, I'm so glad you believe in me. That shows that you believe in me, and even if you don't you're not an exec somewhere who's going to give me a bunch of money. It's like you have to appreciate your way to the top and the people around you, because they're all going to grow with you too. So like to think that one person really up high is just going to go down and grab you and bring you up is just insane. Like those people don't even think about it. They're thinking about the people. They're lazy. Anyone at the top is lazy. So they're going to ask their friends and be like, hey, do you know anybody? And then they're going to pick their friends, even though we're over here still rising, you know? So you have to yell loud to be like, I'm here, you know?
Yeah, closed mouths don't get fed.
They don't. So yeah, like creating your own space for sure is just so necessary, because no one's honestly, you have to look at it as no one's going to bring you to the top immediately. Although you will meet people who help you along the way, which is great. Just appreciate that. You know, use it.
I know there's like mentorships a lot in Latino spaces in all industries, but there's also the boiling crab thing that happens also amongst our community in all industries. Have you noticed both situations happen specifically with like Latino Hollywood?
Like supporting and then kind of bringing down as well?
Yeah, like are there both kinds of people?
Yeah, I think so. I think inherently there is a lot of support for sure. There's a lot of support. I've been supported by a lot of great Latino creatives, and it's been really beautiful to see that grow. I mean, I specifically benefited extremely from a program that was called Tomorrow's Filmmakers Today. It was by this festival called Hola Mexico. So they specifically brought different directors, DPs, producers together to be a part of like a week-long program where they showcase a movie of theirs before a feature, and introduce them to like agents and different things like that. So that helped me. It's not the experience of meeting the agents, meeting all that stuff. It was meeting those people. Because then we work together on other projects, you know? We grow together in different ways. Like that's
networking horizontally.
Yeah, and honestly, we've all grown so much, and it's really cool to see that our class and even the new alums coming up, we still meet each other at these mixers, and it feels like we just have an instant connection because we're like, oh, I went through that too. Like, you get it, you know? You made a movie as well. You understand the same plight. So me being in film school, mostly around like, I would say like 80% white people. So it's like to have that being introduced to more Latinos was really, really nice. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, you're just like me. We're working on similar projects. How about we help each other out? So that was the thing. It's like we ended up growing, and that was like such a strong support system. And that was made by Diana Luna, who now runs Nalip. And that's
I didn't know that.
She's amazing.
I feel like we've all touched Nalip.
We've all touched Nalip.
I know. And honestly, it's gotten so much better. Like, because like Diana has been curating for a long time, and she also has physically helped us out and understands creatives. And aside from Diana, it was also Carlos Aguilar, who is a writer. He's done a lot of pieces for various big publications. And then Samuel Doak, who is the creator of the festival. So the three of them really helped us out. And I think especially when you see like Diana now doing Nalip, like it shows that there were good intentions from the beginning, and it's just continuation of that. So it makes me really happy to see like Diana going to Nalip, because I'm like, oh, you know what's up. Like I trust you, you know? And also having a woman in charge, I think makes like loads of difference, you know? And she's pretty transparent with us about like even the experience of going into Nalip and like, you know, the years of previously established things that, you know, may be unsavory, and just like having to change that. And I think that's with all of us, right? Each generation is trying to do better than the last. And going back into like the, you know, kind of like people bring each other down, I do feel like, and this is just me personally, I feel like the older generation has a very, like, I struggled, so you should too.
We were just talking about that in our last episode.
If you want to reference our last episode.
We want to reference our last episode.
Yeah, it's sad, because you really will see it, and they'll be like, oh, like, they'll bring down your ambition or something, and be like, but you shouldn't be doing that, or this, or that, like, and it really happens. Like, I'll see it. Like, people, like, will think that you're just gonna pass by. Like, I remember I was told by one person, I'm not gonna say who it is, but like they were like, oh, like, you know, well, if you want to do anything else, you know, like as you get older, essentially saying I'm not gonna continue on and doing this, and like if you want to do something else instead, like I understand. And I was like,
rude.
I'm at a point like you, like, bro, like it would
just because your light got dimmed doesn't mean you have to dim mine.
I know. And I was just like, no, like, but that's the thing, it's like there's a lot of people like that, and they also there's a profit in diversity for sure. So like a lot of people you will see preaching certain things about Latino this, Latino that, blah blah blah. Do they do anything with that? Do they help Latinos out in the meantime? They probably don't. I'm not like gonna be specific.
Profiting off the struggle.
Yeah, and like profiting off like blurring out statistics, like only 1% of this. I've heard that like so much in my like now that I've been in the Latino space, I'd say it's been around 4 years, and it's just like, wow, I hear this all the fucking time, and you guys don't do anything. You know what I mean? Like, what are you gonna do? So that's why, at least with Diana, I've been really happy, because it's like, oh, you're doing collaborations with stars now, with you know, Disney, all this kind of stuff. It makes it feel more like at least there's progress here, you know? But yeah, I do think inherently, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but a lot of Latinos do like tend to kind of rag on each other a little. It can be playful and be a little like rough and joke around a little harshly, and I think that can translate into film, going back into like you know, machismo or people being kind of haters. It's like it's like, well, it's a joke, it's fine, right? Like that's always a thing. It's like, why are you mad about that?
It's not a joke if it isn't funny.
Yeah, exactly. I've always seen that, you know, like when you call someone and be like, hey, what'd you say that? They're like, that's just a joke, no big deal. And it's like, well, you're being really mean, like, you know. Like, but no, yeah, I think that can happen too with our community, and that's also why there's been a lot of resistance to a lot of new media made for Latinos. But at the same time, like I do think a lot of Latino media is kind of like not as much care for the big companies have been put into it, because they're usually just white people, you know?
There's just so little. There's been more in recent years, but there's just so little representation that, like, as soon as we get one, we're like, it's not me, so I hate it. Yeah. What does that do?
I know, it's rough, because it's like, you cannot like it, that's fine. But also, like, it's just, that I think that's the problem. We're talking about, like, just represent it to as accurately as you can. Because it's like, a lot of the times the marketing teams are also trying to be like, this is the new Latino this, or experience for everyone, or this. And it's like, okay, but no, it's not. You know, I don't know this experience at all of having to instead just balance a vision and balance the specific story and like market that. Because when you start marketing it as just being something that's Latino and you should celebrate it, it's tough, because people are inherently going to be like, no, you know, like no one likes to be told to do. So if you just tell them your story and your vision and show it in an interesting way that you want to be told, I feel like no one can deny you that. You know what I mean? So it's tough. It really is. I understand the issues sometimes. There's definitely some projects that are definitely not for me that I've seen that are out there. But, you know, it's rough when people are like saying like, it should be this is your experience. Everyone should like this. And it's like, I understand why there's such an instinctual negative response, but at the same time, like I mentioned earlier, it's not that deep. You know what I mean? It's just a fucking movie. Like
that's what I was gonna ask
no
you.
Do you? Die.
Yeah, no one's gonna fucking die.
Do you have any advice for filmmakers that are trying to make Latino stories, but they're almost in fear that they might get nitpicked? And because so far all the ones that come out, someone always has something to say.
Oh yeah.
And we're all so different, so they're being told from different points of views, but everyone wants to be represented in one film, which is just not possible. That's what I'm saying.
That's definitely true. Like I mentioned, I had a friend who was like nervous about even telling certain types of stories and stuff, because she felt like, is this accurate enough, or is this too cliche? Like, if it happened, it happened. Just tell what you want to tell. Yeah, I've definitely seen it. There'll be some too, and like I mentioned too, like, not that you need to be from the exact place. You know, you're storytellers. You can do anything you want. But I have seen people who are, you know, straight, you know, white people or this, and they'll tell like a lot of queer stories, and it's like, unless you have a very, very strong inkling to tell a lot of this stuff, but it also feels like some people go out of their way to tell certain stories that they have no connection to. And you can tell when you watch it, you're like, this doesn't feel like genuine, you know? But they know it's profitable in some areas, or they might get support by certain companies, so they do it, you know? Because I know a lot of people in our case, like, you know, specifically uplifting stories that make us all look really good, right? Which is fine, you know? Like, I get it. That's like PBS or some shit. But like, it seems like a lot of people want that, you know? Like, we have to be the good guys in the end, or the bad guy is only like this person, like the man or a white guy. It's like, man, I don't know. Like, so maybe I want to tell a story about two shitty Latinos to each other, you know, or something like that. For diversity in stories is really not there. And I do feel like a lot of people. Sorry, I'm not really answering your question, but I was like, no, because I was gonna go back into people in the industry when they see something and they see that like a Latino isn't the good guy or something, they'll be like, oh, well, why would you do that or this? And they
hitting into stereotypes.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, but we need more diversity in the types of story we're telling.
So to recap, what advice would you give to young Latinas who want to follow in your footsteps?
Well, for Latinas, just like I mentioned before, do it. But also, like, it's hard, you know, also being a woman, you know, there's just, what I know we're already used to having thick skin, you know, like more than men. But, you know, really trying to find ways and find your own community or like friends or some sort of solace to return to, because it can be a bit frustrating and alienating, you know, you think you should be identifying with a lot of other Latinos in your industry, but maybe some are not very nice or, you know, have a very Hollywood mentality. So finding your ways to just recenter is something that I think is just necessary, whether it is talking to a friend, whether it's talking to a relative, or finding ways to decompress after, you know, anything that feels off, you know, because you will run into things even early on that just feel like, oh God, like, am I really running into this shit already? Like, you know, all the tropes people think of Hollywood. But, you know, just know that there are communities out there and there's people that aren't like that, and just take solace. Like, okay, like I will find, you know, people that I trust, or I will find a group of people that are going to be my people. And all I have to do for now is just make and create something that feels representative of me. So just make whatever you feel you need to make. And I think just, you know, keep an eye out, you know, like, you know, I don't know, like, just, you can, if you feel something's off when you meet someone or something, it's like, just be cautious.
Trust the vibes.
Yeah, because sometimes it sucks because you run into people again and again, and you're just like, oh God, like, you know, specifically for women, Latinas, you know, I just want to see their work out there and, you know, be proud about it and loud and proud, you know?
I love that.
Yeah, I totally like get that, because I feel like in this industry, everybody says they're like a producer and can help you, like give you that golden ticket, and you just have to be careful.
It's tricky because everyone's like multi-hyphenate, everyone's like, you know, great at everything, or knows a guy who works at this place, you know, and then people take them seriously, and it's like, oh, they don't know someone that works there, or maybe they got fired from that place that they said they worked at, you know, so it's something that comes up. So it's just like, you know, just be cautious, you know. I know sometimes you can't just outright be like cutting out someone. It's difficult. You run into people a lot in this industry, but, you know, just, you know, keep your distance in a form of maybe words that you say, even if you have to be in the same room, and, you know, just find ways to navigate and just be with your people, you know. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, we're all Latinas that grew up in LA, but Los Angeles, or like Hollywood, always felt kind of distant. Do you have any advice on like how to, I don't know, how'd you break in without having an uncle or like someone who's a producer?
I guess I honestly did feel like that program TFT helped. We're also filmmakers today, but honestly, I also looked online and interned a lot. So I'd be like, oh, was there an internship here? So
networking.
Yeah, networking, going to events, if you see some, and just find ways to get into different communities and groups that you like. Start where you're at, you know, but also be like, oh, I don't really know people in this area or this. And when I was in college, I also helped volunteer at other colleges. So I was like, oh, like, what about USC? Do they need help? AFI, do you need any help? So I was able to meet people at different schools and meet their teachers too, and work on projects. And made me, CSUN. Oh yeah, like I met DP that worked on my one of my projects, and she was at CSUN, and it was because I helped her out on a project there. So getting to meet different people like that was really helpful for me, and no one made me. I just felt like I didn't have that big of a pool at my current school,
She's a go-getter.
Be a go-getter.
Just do it, That's
Échale ganas.
Yeah.
Sí se puede.
Take initiative.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Take initiative, yeah.
Before we go, we want to ask, are there any projects that you are manifesting?
Yes, I have my feature I told you guys about, but I do have a horror film that I'm really excited about because I haven't done it yet. I haven't done that genre. So I'm just like, oh, I want this really bad. And it's,
I know.
I don't even actually explain it too much, because ideas. But there's 2 actors that I really want for it if I get it.
And they're going to be up and coming. They're going to be the next movie star.
And then they're going to be stars. I know.
Well, like...
Is that you?
I know. Sign up. Say yes.
But yeah, it's just like... I don't know, like I just feel really good about it, and I'm just jumping into it. And even if I do get, the financing and get greenlit to go into that project, there's like a specific like actors I want in it that I'm just like, I think I can get you now. Like, because I am all about like up and coming talent, and this one isn't that up and coming, but also hasn't been in film yet. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, I know you'll be good in film. I have a feeling. But he's a comedian and voice actor, big on YouTube, but like Brandon Rogers, fucking love him. Great presence, great voice, and so funny. And I'm like, he needs to be in a movie. He needs to be in a movie.
Yes.
I was like,
say yes.
Oh my God. Like, and I wrote this character specifically around him. And I'm just like, look, if I don't get it, it's fine. I'll pick someone else.
No, that's fine. You're gonna get it.
Goodbye.
Yeah. We'll tag him.
I just love him. I think he's a great comedian, and I would love to see that jump from comedy YouTube. And then I think he does a voice on he is on Has Been Hotel, but he's also on Hell of a Boss, which is huge on YouTube, right? It gets like fucking 22 million views per episode. But like, that it's just like, okay, now he moved into voice acting. What about film? So
you're trying to transition him there.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. But that's been my manifestation. I'm like, Brandon Rogers. And people in meetings are like,
we gotta light a candle for him.
Yeah,
I know. I'm gonna light a candle today.
Good vibes.
And is there anywhere where people can follow you?
Yeah, I am across the board on all social medias at This Jazz Cat. So it's This Jazz, like the music, Jazz, and Cat, CAT. So you can find me on IG there. You can find me Twitter, everywhere. I don't use Twitter, but I still have it.
You mean X?
I know. I also Threads. I'm also This Jazz Cat. So I just have it everywhere. If you see another account and it's not that, it's not me. So yeah, This Jazz Cat. And my website, you could always... I'm most active on IG though, and yeah, you can see me post there, stories, all that.
Thank you so much for being here with us.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for having me.
You can also find us on Our Vibes Media, on everything, YouTube. Subscribe to us, Spotify, listen and rate us, and anywhere you get your podcast. Instagram, follow us. But that's our episode. Thank you so much, Jazmin. All right.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.